Okay, welcome to the Footy Museum and the Footy Museum podcast. We had a small break, but we're back.
Woo!
Back in the USA like every European soccer club in the world. There are so much extremely talented people playing very mediocre soccer in the US right now. From La Liga to Premier League. It's a magical time.
Love summer.
It is. It's crazy though. Like all these skinny like the other day I was watching I caught a bit of Arsenal, Manchester United and playing on like the skinny American football field. It just feels, and like Eric Ten Hag in his like golf short sleeve, it just didn't quite
out of place.
It's just not quite right. And it was also not quite right to watch Arsenal humiliate the MLS All-Stars.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
That All-Star game doesn't work in soccer. I don't think it works anywhere, but
if it's NBA is just like back and forth dunking.
But don't put an all-star together and then say we're going to play one of the best teams in the world. Like how do you think that's going to go?
Humiliatingly.
Yes. And coached by like England's happiest drunk, Wayne Rooney. Just like I saw after the game someone asked him, "What did you learn from coaching the MLS All-Stars?" And he said, "Absolutely nothing." That's the spirit.
Honest answer. Who was in that game? Who was on the All-Star team?
It wasn't even like the best players.
It was just who was available.
I think it's based on voting and stats, but Messi wasn't there. But it was just like a mediocre squad, and I mean they didn't stand a chance. They didn't play together, and it's just a silly event. I think it makes the league look kind of silly, but that's all right. That's fine. At least they didn't have to wear those kits that Arsenal was wearing.
I didn't see them. What do they look like?
They look like 1990s water polo balls. But there's so much going on.
Oh, yeah, those are...
We got preseason. Yeah.
They're like highlighter.
They're highlighter,
to
squiggly.
The next level.
Not even... I don't get it. But the preseason's going on. Not just Premier League. There's Bundesliga teams playing in the U.S., La Liga. There's a lot of transfers happening. Of course, MLS is going on. They're in a break. They're entering Leagues Cup, which I've watched a few games. It's actually really fun and exciting. I recommend if you haven't watched any games.
We watched Inter Miami.
Well, that was pretty exciting.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, we cut away halfway through because the U.S. women's national team was playing.
Well, that's the other thing going on.
Then we cut back in the half, and we got to see the Messi goal.
The golazo.
At the end.
And the World Cup is going on. So it's just it's a wealth of off-season, on-seasonness. There's so much soccer.
Me and Jeremy survived Star Wars night at Fire last week.
Oh, that's right. You went to the Star Wars themed night, and it was Chicago versus
Montreal. And
you brought your weather curse. Just a reminder, last time you and Jeremy, your husband, went to a game, it was 5 degrees. It was freezing.
It was like 5 below zero with wind chill. And we stayed outside the whole time. And this time we had severe storms and tornadoes.
2 tornado warnings, right?
And we survived that as well.
I feel bad. I thought you were going to have good weather.
It was beautiful after that.
Yeah. But you did see a win.
Yes, we saw it. Well, we didn't actually stay the whole time because the game was delayed by like 2 hours.
Yes.
And Jeremy is like grown up with a real job. I had a presentation to give in the morning. He's
president of FIFA.
Yeah. So very important person. And so we could only stay for the first half, but all 3 goals were scored during that half. So that was great. It was very exciting. But we were also in a section that seemed to have a lot of first-time soccer viewers, which was really entertaining for us to like listen to the conversations. And the people behind us were like, "So nobody can touch the ball with their hands at all?"
You sure they weren't pranking?
No, she was for real. I think she was like really familiar with hockey rules, it seemed.
Oh, where you can slap the ball down?
Yeah. So she's like, only the goalie can touch it?
That seems very fundamental.
I don't know. That's what was surprising. It seemed like, yeah, it was funny. We were like, oh, we must have been in the Groupon section.
Yeah.
But it was cute.
Well, and the Fire have won the last, what was it, 5 out of their last 6 games before the summer break. That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome. I missed a lot of them because I was working.
Yeah. But they moved up into playoff contention, and I hope they can
That's very
keep.
exciting.
And of course, Chicago is in the Leagues Cup, and their group has Minnesota, and then the Liga MX club is Puebla. So that'll be fun. Maybe they can get some momentum through that tournament. At least get out of the knockout round, so they don't have too much time off.
For that group stage, would you expect to see them playing their starters or playing some lesser?
I think with the prize money, I think each round you progress, there's like millions of dollars of money for clubs. And there's nothing else going on, and they want to keep their team in form. I think you'll see their starters. And that so far, clubs have been playing their starters, and they've been playing to win. I also think there's a lot of... I also think MLS is using this tournament to try to win over the huge Mexican football fan base in the United States. Because every time a Liga MX team comes to the U.S., they sell out giant stadiums to watch.
Yeah.
And MLS has never been able to fully capture that audience. So I think a months-long tournament, if they can show their quality against these top teams, I think their goal is also like, let's win over some fans.
That's smarter than an all-star game.
It is smarter than an all-star game, which lost fans around the world. Luckily, just a few days later was the Messi game, which we'll talk about in a minute. Well, I'll just go in. We're talking about domestic stuff. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. And speaking of the Messi game, you and I had spoken last week, and I was like, Messi's going to find it harder than he thinks. You can't just stroll in. And so
stroll in Messi.
Well,
stuff.
to be fair, this was not a true MLS game. It was against Cruz Azul from Mexico, the last place team in Mexico, versus the last place team in the U.S., which Messi now happens to be on, along with half of
just watch them climb up above that playoff
Barcelona.
line.
They have to basically win every game to do that, which maybe they'll do. So anyway, the temporary weird stadium down in Miami was packed. Celebrities.
Oh my goodness.
The Beckhams were there. And then I think it was like the 54th minute or something, Messi came on. It went crazy. But then shortly after it came on, Cruz Azul tied the game. And then there was a feeling like maybe this is going to be a bust. And it looked like it was going to go to penalties because all the Leagues Cup games have no overtime. They go straight to penalties. Because
they don't even end in ties.
They don't want ties. They're trying to keep it exciting and have clear winners. They get a free kick in the 94th minute.
It was an extra time for sure.
Yeah, I think it was 94th minute. And he helped draw that too, didn't
I think he's the one who got fouled.
Yeah, he got kind of like sandwiched between two Cruz Azul players. And it was about 24 yards out. It wasn't close. I mean, it was outside the box. So he walked up and almost effortlessly.
Yeah, me and Jeremy were just like chit-chatting, and then suddenly it went in. We were like, what?
He just effortlessly curled it perfectly to the top left corner. And they won the game. And it was an amazing moment, but we've seen him do this before. But what I love more is that he was like genuinely smiley.
The smile on his face was really endearing.
This is not a PSG smile I ever saw.
Well, wasn't he miserable there?
Clearly.
Yeah.
And then he ran over and hugged his family, and it was like, and by all accounts, he has been an awesome teammate, like getting tickets for other players. He dedicated, after that game, there's a photo of them in the locker room. He's holding up another player's jersey. Someone by the name of Frey.
Was that the kid who got injured?
He got injured after
really
coming
early?
back from other injuries. So Messi was like, let's dedicate the game to Frey. And you see Messi holding up his jersey. So I think it's just like, it's clear that the lines are drawn. Ronaldo is the force of darkness and Messi is the force of light. And MLS is...
Sounds like Star Wars night.
Yes. Is the resistance. And the Saudi League is the empire. I'm just going to say. But it's exciting.
I've never heard the U.S. compared to the resistance before.
Only when it comes to soccer. We played our C national men's team in the Gold Cup and lost in the semifinals in a shootout, which to Panama.
How do you
We
feel
looked
about
bad.
them playing like the C team? How much does the U.S. care
Well,
about the Gold Cup?
I think with the Leagues Cup, which came just before it, because that's earlier in the summer, it's going to get priority because all of our top players had not had a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of July start preseason. So they needed some time off. You know what I mean? The only player that
Yeah.
continued was Matt Turner, but he's the second string at Arsenal, so he's probably didn't need as much, and he's just really into it.
Uh-huh.
But I think like Bologan, Pulisic, everyone on the starting squad of our A team had not stopped, and they had the World Cup year, and so they weren't going to play the tournament. And I think if the scheduling always stays the same, they'll never play the Gold Cup if it's right after Leagues Cup and that timing. Now, was it a waste? If you know you're not going to have your A team, why play the people you know who are never going to be on your A team? Why not play your under 20, your under 23 squad?
Oh, that makes sense.
And just throw them in there and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Give them some time.
Because some of those players you might need for the next World Cup. So, I mean, why do you want to see middle-aged MLS players who we've gotten a lot of shots at? They're not going to be A squad, and you're not going to win the tournament. So I do think it was wasted that way, and it's just too much. There's just too many of these tournaments like back to back. So it's just such a packed summer.
Yeah. No breaks.
So what have you been looking at? What's going on with Leeds?
Samesies. Well, Leeds.
We are the championship.
I've just been like kind of watching the transfer news to see who's staying, at least from the Americans. And I mean, Aronson's moving to Union Berlin on loan.
Yes,
So
I think that's a great move.
We could see him back again eventually. But McKinney and Tyler Adams, still no news.
Well, McKinney's back at Juventus.
But aren't they going to loan him out too?
There's still that question. There was some talk a while that he was no longer part of their picture and he wasn't going to be part of camp. But they did bring him back in, and he is in the U.S. with them. But yeah, I don't see him staying there. Adams, I heard rumor that they might try to keep him.
I heard that too, but
I mean, they need him. I mean,
they would need him to get back up right away.
Yeah.
But how realistic do you think that would be?
Oh,
Wait,
no. Hold on. He just got injured. He's out until September. Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. Sorry. He's injured. He's out past the September FIFA break. So maybe we're looking at a winter transfer.
Is it the same injury again, like a repeat?
It seems like it's a hamstring again. Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
He had been linked with Villa and Brighton. I mean, Brighton would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, maybe we'll see. I mean, I think his quality still shows. And up until this point, he hasn't been real injury prone. So this is going to be a tough test for Adams. We'll see.
Speaking of another Leeds midfielder,
Yes.
a former one, there's a new documentary on Amazon Prime about Calvin Phillips called The Road to City.
Oh.
And I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
That's where his road stopped because he hasn't really played
he hasn't
since
really
he got
played
there.
much. He's getting a little screen time doing just like B Squad England stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
There'll be some must-watch programming.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that. And otherwise, when it comes to Leeds, they just dropped their new kit for the new season. That's an Adidas kit. And I gotta say, I kind of dig it.
Let's look at
Yeah.
this. Okay, simple.
It's simple, but
Mhm.
check out the embossing pattern.
Oh, okay. So what is that? What would you call it?
those-
Sunrise? Or?
No, it's peacock feathers.
Oh,
So it's just
the peacock.
a white embossed repeating peacock
That is
feather
nice.
pattern. And it's really subtle, and it's nice and geometric, and it's a callback to their nickname, the Peacocks. And then on the back of the neck, there's also a very graphic old school callback to their peacock crest.
Where does the peacock come from again?
There's like a pub near
Ah,
the
that's right.
stadium. It's like Old Peacock or something.
And now they are also the owners of the 49ers are now
Yeah, the
majority
49ers.
owners, right?
And I think they wanted Adams involved, and that's one of the reasons why they're trying to get him to stay.
Well, maybe the injury, if he was going to stay anyway, maybe it's not so bad. Because if he wasn't worried about a transfer, being back September, October, you still have pretty much the full season. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you don't get so worn out in the championship because they play so often and so physical.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll keep an eye on that. I do like this kid. Definitely better than the ones last year.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a sign of good things to come.
Yeah, I think it's classy.
It is.
Yeah.
You going to get one?
I don't know. Maybe I have to show my support because
You're not just a bandwagoner.
yeah, not
No,
a
this is
bandwagoner.
What is Boxed?
I assume it's a company.
Let's see. Boxed. Drink Boxed is a... What? It's alcohol, maybe? Wine? Boxed wine.
I'm a fan.
Is it the same? I wonder if it's the same company. There's a lot of... It's also boilers, air conditioners, and units.
It's probably that.
I would be happy if it was the boxed wine.
I searched boxed UK and it's the
boilers.
heating and cooling. Yeah.
Well, that's good. But of course, so there's a lot going on. Things are heating up. It's exciting. We're about a month away from the Premier League kickoff, right?
It's just going to fly by.
It's going to fly by. We'll start following Luton Town. It's very exciting. Weekend mornings will be back in a different way, a special way. MLS is still going. I'm looking for... You're going to see the Miami Fire game to see Messi. I think they're going to sell out the whole stadium.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting. Hopefully the Fire keep up their form. But the biggest news, clearly, is that we are in another World Cup summer/winter, because where they're playing is winter. But although the weather everywhere else, maybe that's a good idea. Anyway, so we are just a few days into the 2023 World Cup in New Zealand and Australia.
Woo!
And we thought we would just each highlight some things that we've noticed, maybe more towards the visual line, but if there's other storylines as well, I think that makes sense. So what has stood out to you from this World Cup so far?
The first visual design thing that has stood out to me from this Women's World Cup is the U.S. and their awesome suits.
Oh, that's what I was going to bring up too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
These suits are fantastic. Everything about them is perfect. I describe them as looking like futuristic flight attendants.
Okay.
But in the best way.
So these are, they were designed by Nike and Martine Rose, and they are dark blue with they're double-breasted. Is that what you call that when it's like buttoned over like that? So the one side buttons far over, very high button for a suit with the U.S. patch on one side and then just the white shirt underneath. And then a lot of the players, I think they were probably all asked to, but just some of them also wearing kind of
the
clear
cool sunglasses,
future shades. And, it was very business.
Yeah.
I think Rapinoe was a little too much into it.
No. Just enough. Somebody's gotta do it. Somebody's gotta have that energy.
So you liked this.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you liked about it.
I think the fabric is amazing.
It's if you look close, it has like a cross pattern, like a soccer field.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit shiny.
Mm-hmm.
These are a gender neutral. They're meant to be a completely gender neutral suit, which I think is effective.
Something you would imagine when Olympians wear something.
Yeah, I compared them to futuristic flight attendants. Mm-hmm. Jeremy said they look like Japanese high schoolers.
Oh.
I just think they're very smart and sharp.
Do most Japanese high schoolers become flight attendants?
No, I think they're just really smart looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a good, crisp, futuristic but familiar silhouette.
So I have a question about these.
I would pair them with white sneakers. Not a lot of players did. I think they're enhanced by a white shoe.
I think they all have contracts when it comes to their shoes. And they were going to play a game. So I think, the look is like, we're here to take care of business. We are the U.S. Women's national team. We basically built the women's game. It's a real boss energy. But I have a question because I think all World Cups, but especially this World Cup, there is a highlighting the strong disparity between the development of the game between countries, right? So like the U.S.'s first game was against Vietnam, first ever World Cup match. Other teams like Haiti, and teams like Jamaica that were actually fielding 17-year-old high school junior from U.S. was on Jamaica's squad, who are really trying to figure it out and scrapping. And the U.S. has played like two of the highest paid female soccer players in the world, right? Morgan and of course Rapinoe. And the U.S. is boss, no doubt. But I wonder, in marching into the game against Vietnam that does not have that support and being like, showing that, is that like a national team attitude? Do you want your national team attitude to like march in cocky like that, or to be like, in that role, do you want them to be a little more?
I think there's two audiences here.
Yeah.
There's like the world audience. And then there's just U.S. women as an audience.
Yeah.
I think this was a moment for U.S. women.
Okay.
Like me and my friends who were like, these people are amazing. Like, look at them owning their power. Like, they're professionals. They're going to deliver. The world audience, nobody roots for Goliath.
That's true.
Nobody's rooting for the U.S. And that's okay, because like they need competition. And so like Vietnam they were putting up a really good fight.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Great.
Also is like, so noted, absolutely,
Yeah.
boss. But following up on those teams is a lot of these lesser developed clubs have been going all out. So yeah, Vietnam came out playing incredibly physical and visibly knocked the U.S. off their game. I mean, they were coming in.
The keeper was so good.
With hard fouls. The keeper had so many blocks. So I even think 3-0 was not an accurate portrayal of that game. I think it was closer than that, especially because you had that one goal kind of freakishly trickle in at the end of the first half. U.S. deserved to win, but Vietnam really stood up. Haiti, the other day, kept England. They lost 1-0, and it was only on a penalty kick that had to be retaken. And I think Haiti had a lot of opportunity to take that game. And watching that game, oh my gosh, Haiti have probably the most exciting player in the tournament. I think. Did you watch the game?
No, I saw the highlights though.
So I might. So Dumornay is her last name. Her first name I might slaughter is Melchi I don't know how to pronounce it. 19. She plays for Lyon. The parts I watched, she was just blowing by English players and had like so much control and touch, like such a dynamic player. And it was really exciting, especially on a team like Haiti, for a country that needs something to celebrate, right?
Yes.
They were fantastic to watch. Jamaica pulled out a draw against France, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
So I think that there's been some.
There haven't been any like blowouts.
No, and these smaller teams that people are kind of like taking for granted, I think have come to play in a way that now that we have tiers in the women's game where there's these very high power teams, don't play that way anymore. You know what I mean? They like the US, Netherlands, Spain, they have very polished games with very polished players. And I think in a World Cup, you can come up against teams who are just ready for a scrap,
Mm-hmm.
and it can throw you off your game when
Yeah.
you're used to like really high level.
I call this the youth group volleyball effect. There's a very real thing when you play like just pick up volleyball with a bunch of wild cards.
Yeah.
That any skill that you possess as a player is out the window. Like, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should be better. You play for your high school team," and you're like, "No, this is chaos.
Right.
There's anything could happen here," and then the tallest person just wins.
And for a long time, me growing up, that was like the way the U.S. men's played, because they were that role for a long time, and they would just go in and sow chaos, and it was all about effort. And it's been fun to watch these teams. They no longer have the, I think in addition, there's no longer the fear of the top level teams. Like I think it used to be like the U.S. was like the dream team, you know, like the 90s dream team when they went to play. The other team was half in all the whole time. And I feel like I've seen games with this team where it was like that. They're like, oh my God, we're playing the U.S. and it was never there. I think you're seeing that fear is gone. And I think it's just going to be a very good tournament. I think there's going to be some upsets. But
like, too, in the regular club season, how many of these international players are all playing together on the same club?
No, that's true. Yeah. That I think it points to the growth of the game and and how that affects the quality everywhere. Because a for-profit team, like I was saying, this Haitian player, plays in France.
Yeah.
When you have for-profit teams, they're going to find the best players. So it's exciting. It's exciting. And I think the stadiums, the pitches, everything has looked really awesome. I remember when I went to the World Cup when it was in Canada in 2015, we saw Germany versus France in Montreal. And FIFA refused to cover, first of all, they agreed to have AstroTurf stadiums, and they refused to cover it with grass. So we were inside the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, horrible pitch. And I remember walking around, awesome crowd, amazing game. There are so many French fans there. I think that connection with French Canada.
That makes sense.
But like the stadium, you walk around and it was like half the concessions closed, and the other half had like hastily printed like World Cup menu boards like taped over. Like
no enthusiasm from.
There was tons of enthusiasm from everyone there,
but not the production of the whole thing.
Not from FIFA, you know what I mean, and not from Canada. And I think from what we've learned from the Canadian Soccer Federation, they have a lot of issues. Like I don't know if you've been following, but it's kind of a mess. And that was so disappointing. So it's great to see how that's changed too, because it just seems like everything is like the level it should be. The funny thing is, though, all the stadiums are circular.
They're so round.
Do you know why?
Is there?
There's a specific reason.
But these aren't soccer specific stadiums,
They're not soccer specific.
Is this because of rugby? Is this because of?
It's because of cricket.
Oh.
Cricket has a circular field. So it's all these circular stadiums, which I think look amazing.
Yeah, but
but
not very close seats.
Yeah, if you're on the sideline, you're pretty far from the edge.
One other thing that I'm excited for that I haven't seen yet is those Adidas away kits that we've talked about before. The ones that are based on the natural landscapes of their countries.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really excited to see those in person, particularly the Sweden one. Because that was my favorite out of all of them, based on like fjords and rocks and stuff. We'll see how that translates to TV, but that's one thing I'm anticipating.
That's gonna be exciting. I mean, one tricky thing with this one though is actually watching.
Yeah, it's hard
because it's
catch.
like I think the early kickoff is like at 2 a.m. and then the late kickoff is like 5 or 5:30. Now. I think they're trying to do U.S. games as afternoon games because then they're like at 9 p.m. here.
That's kind of them.
So like a really early, but yeah.
How does that factor to Europe? How close are they?
They're even farther. I mean, I think they're. Oh, but then it might work to its advantage. So
It'd be
like
the next day.
yeah, no, it works to their advantage. So
Yeah.
they're like at. So England is what, 5 hours ahead or behind us?
Ahead.
Ahead. So if it's 2 a.m. here, it's 7 a.m. there. Yeah.
Oh, that works great
So
for
it's
them.
better for them. So they're like 12 hours difference, but it works out. So like or whatever. Yeah. So they're reasonable morning hours. So it's like how we watch the Premier League here. They can have it for the World Cup.
Watch, they're going to love it. And then they're going to change all of their weekend games to mornings.
And it'll be at night here.
And we're going to be like
at 10 p.m. No, I think they make too much money from the U.S. mornings. The other thing so all that, yes, definitely come by the stadiums, the field, the suits. Seeing I'm still not a fan of the U.S. splatter paint kits.
It's growing on me. You know what happened?
What?
Jeremy had a laundry accident, and he was like, oh man, and he tossed me his white shirt that had all these specks all over it, and I was like, you get a U.S. kit? And he's like, no, it's from the grill. And it was just like dirt from the grill that got stuck in his white shirt.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty funny.
The other ones have grown on me. The ones with the bright red, the kind of like snake skin embossing, and then the bright red accents, and because they have like kind of lightning-y socks. I think I prefer those. Let's talk about one other thing, and that is the branding for this World Cup. Okay.
It matches the flowers on your table.
It's two countries, right? It's in Australia and New Zealand. It looks like the catchphrase is beyond greatness. And the main logo, which also kind of has dictated the color scheme for all of their branding, is kind of broke up into 3 sections: a large vertical rectangle on the top, which says FIFA Women's World Cup with a linear drawing of the trophy. And then above that is a central soccer ball surrounded by 2 concentric circles of what I see as flags, like square flags of different colors, but kind of in the pastel range, but also in a range that relate to, I think, the host country's colors. And it's nice. The white is not a white. It's like a creamy royal silk, I would call it.
Oh, yeah. Royal silk is a great description.
And then...
nowhere near a Chantilly lace.
No, nowhere near a Chantilly lace. That would be an awful choice. And the bottom is divided into 2 small squares. On the left is AU above NZ for Australia, New Zealand, and then stacked 2023. And then the branding campaign is really picked up on the colors from the flags, which have because they're tertiary, slightly, they're not real vibrant. They're slightly faded or pastel. They have a retro feeling, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think that combined with the off-white. So it has a feeling of like a 1960s, I would say, World Cup poster. I think that's emphasized by like kind of the very clean graphic nature of it as well. And then a lot of their campaign has overlapping geometric squares that kind of relate to that. So when they have text, it's the same font that they use, which I do like, in the logo. And then in the background they'll have kind of color shapes based on the color scheme from the design. Thoughts?
There are things I like about it.
Okay, let's hear them.
I do like the colors.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I would say that it feels kind of safe.
Yeah.
And it feels I don't know. Do you feel like you've seen stuff like this just before? Like it's just kind of typical right now. Like there's not much new going on here.
Yeah, I think with a lot of sports events, especially FIFA sanctioned, you're going to get some safe decisions. I think that the kind of the rounded edge font, just at the very small level, there's not a lot of like hard edges. It seems safe and corporate that way. I think the main logo of the soccer ball inside those two circles, that's probably my favorite aspect. And I think more because of that nostalgic quality, like I think back to like posters you see from earlier World Cups where it's like it's straightforward, direct. We're having this tournament. It's not about our World Cup mascot or like some. Even though they do have the saying "Beyond Greatness," they're not emphasizing pretending there's some greater thing beyond just a great tournament. But it's just it's fine.
It kind of looks like a daisy, like a flower.
Oh yeah. I'd like it less when you say that.
Yeah, I think I noticed that just because there are flowers on your table. Yeah.
I wonder if that's intentional.
I mean, I don't.
Or if they're just coming out, they start with the soccer ball at the center.
I don't know. I see, like, primarily, I saw flags too, like, because of the spacing between each one, it definitely looks like flags. I do wonder, are there too many colors?
Yeah, so it is a lot.
And then, and the branding, that pink isn't the same as the pink that's in the logo, like on the banner image behind it.
I think it is. I think the darker version is. So when they do the larger shapes behind text or logos, there are kind of different embossed looking monochromatic patterns within those shapes. So supposedly, like saying here, they were trying to incorporate indigenous designs and history and worked with indigenous artists in the development of the design.
I do, and it's nice to see indigenous design represented in a modern way, so that it doesn't feel.
And the patterns and shapes were designed by Aboriginal tools or representing gatherings of people. So that I think it does. I think it's subtle in the final piece. I would give it a B.
Sure. B's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better. Do you like it better or not as much as the coming U.S. branding that they've released for the U.S. North American World Cup?
Let me refresh on that. Boy, I like it better.
Yeah, me too.
So the U.S. one, to me, talk about like overly trendy. This is like 1,000%. So just a fatty 2 over a fatty 6 with just a little similar curve-ins to suggest the 2 and the 6 with a photo.
It's a photo.
With a Photoshop photo of the trophy on top. And then, you know what it looks like? It looks like the logo for FIFA 26, like a video game.
Mm-hmm. The thing that I like about this is that when they play it, when they released it, they did a ton of just quick graphic animation work on it. And it could be transformed really easily. Okay. And so that was nice. So it was really versatile in that way, with colors and shapes and textures and whatnot flying in and coming in and off of it. But on its own, it's a bit of a blank canvas.
Yeah, and maybe, like you said, maybe that's intentional. We'll see. And it's a long time off, and I don't know. It's at least it's the more I look at it, at least it's a little more confident in its stance. You know what I mean? It didn't try to fit everything, and there was a choice. It does. It does look. Basically, it ends up looking like a video game cover. Like there's nothing to suggest the North America aspect of it or the 3-country aspect of it.
Not at all. There's not even like 3 elements on the thing.
Or I mean, so I think a lot about any design. At some point, the story behind it is important, right? So one of the Summer's World Cup, it's okay. Interesting story. You like what they try to incorporate, and it's tied into the location.
I wonder
this one doesn't seem that way.
I wonder how much just cultural appropriation of tribal patterns has ruined anything impactful that they can really do with
That's
this
true.
too, because they took traditional patterns and modernized them, which feels familiar somehow,
Right.
even though it's something that belongs to them. So
It's tough. I don't. It also seems I'm talking about the 2026 one for the North American World Cup. It seems coldly corporate, so maybe that's why it's like ideally, because it's devoid of any sort of place or reference to cultural identity. It is just it's like FIFA is hosting its own World Cup. You
it's
know
like
what I mean?
the country FIFA.
Yes, FIFA
Yeah.
World Cup in FIFA. Like honestly, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
It almost they're resting very heavily on the looks of the trophy, which is kind of a weird and kind of ugly looking trophy.
But we'll see. So, I think Australia and New Zealand, it's okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of different iterations
I think
of
it's
it.
comfortable is what it is.
Yeah.
It's comfortable.
I'm going to have to pay more attention to how they break it up and use it overall. So, all right. Anything else?
I'll let you know how that Calvin Phillips documentary.
Okay, I can't wait to get the breakdown.
It's going to probably be so ho-hum.
All right, and if you haven't, check us out on social. We are now on Threads. You can find us at the Footy Museum. Also follow us on Instagram, MySpace, Friendster, Tumblr,
Zanga.
Facebook. And we are on what's soon to be called X, but we don't go there very often.
What is it? What is that?
Elon Musk is changing the name of Twitter to X. And the logo is no longer a bird, it's an X.
Are you serious?
Yes.
When did this
He's
happen?
canceling himself.
When did this happen?
I think yesterday announced it.
Oh my goodness. You know why I didn't know? Because I'm not on Twitter.
Well, I think he's just working up. He's just 2 X's away from what he really wants it to be. So anyway, my point is, follow us, check out our website, and subscribe to this podcast. And keep an eye out as we start to release over the next year plans for our traveling exhibition, which will hopefully be part of the whole soccer cultural landscape in the next World Cup here in the U.S. in 2026. Yeah?
Yeah. 3 short years away.
3 short years away. That's it. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.